All right.
All right, we're rolling. This is Mies,
This is Brett.
and today we're going to show you Fiberplane in action, which is a codegen platform for building MCP servers. So what are we going to create?
That is a very good question. We could get bold, or we could go with just something for demonstrative purposes. We have weather MCP listed as an example, so we can just kind of step through that maybe.
Yeah.
All right.
Weather MCP.
Can I make it use real data?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So the prompt says use realistic but fake weather data. We're going to modify this. We're going to say get weather data for a specific location. I'm just going to do weather. Yeah. And I'll say specific location by
City name.
Yeah, by city name. Use an open weather data API to integrate. We'll see what comes up with that.
So what is the first thing that Fiberplane will do?
Usually ask you clarifying questions or create its own task list.
Yeah.
So typically when the coding agent does something, it will tell you about it right here. And it, in this case, it created a task list of what it thinks it's going to have to do. And now we're going to start stepping through that task list. So the clarifying question here is whether to use Open Weather Map, which has a free tier with an API key, or use a different one. Should I have it look up different ones, or should we just go with? Yeah, okay.
Let's ask for advice.
Look up some different weather APIs for me. I want to know what's available. I'm trying to think.
And maybe a nice thing here is like the first thing that we see is actually a tool call.
Mm-hmm. Okay, multiple tool calls. So the agent can search the web and look for documentation on things that you're going to build, which can be very useful if you're integrating with a different type of database and it needs some additional context, or especially if you're, in this case, integrating with another API.
Open Mateo.
Mateo. That has no API key required.
That sounds good.
I will say I have an API key at the ready for Open Weather Map from before. At least I think I do. Yeah. Oh, the National Weather Service has an API. I actually didn't know that. I might go with
Open Weather Map.
Yeah, it's number one in the list.
All right.
Okay. Sorry, pal. I want to do, what was it called?
Open Weather Map.
Open Weather Map. Let's build some stuff. All right. So as the agent completes things on its to-do list, it does mark them as complete or in progress. So you kind of see it working through its task list.
And why do we do the spec first?
Yeah, the spec is kind of, it's a little bit of a trick that guarantees higher outputs. So typically the spec serves as the source of truth for the API or service that you're creating. And having the agent kind of like put all of its thoughts into that makes it easier to hand over coding work to a coding agent without causing confusion or contradictions within the context handed to the agent. Based on research.
All right, so we have a spec detailing our sort of design.
Probably a couple of other things to note here. So it deploys to Cloudflare workers as a serverless runtime, and then kind of by default, we'll use Hono.js as an API framework. The spec goes through other technical decisions, but these are pretty fixed. You can kind of coax it to not use Hono if you want, but we recommend it. And then here it just kind of goes through what tools will the MCP server have, what's the shape of the data that it takes in and returns. And as is customary with a MCP server, especially the agent will default to streamable HTTP transport, which means that you're going to have a post /MCP route, kind of by convention.
Nice.
Yeah, beyond that, with the integration, it goes into how it should fetch data from Open Weather Map, and then how it should return data. Oh, we have an environment variable, of course, for the API key.
Looks good. So
All right.
let's get building.
Yeah, let's get building. So, yep, again, we see agent works through its task list, and now it's going to create an index.ts file. So this is the core API logic. Might be a little long, which is why, it says right here, this might take a little while. But thankfully, you can kind of see it work through the problem as it streams in all the code.
Right. And say we would need a different dependency, different library. Would it pull that in?
Yeah. So what's happening up here, we parse the imports of the code, and then we kind of do some internal package resolution logic. So we look for the latest version of the package that's deployed on NPM. And then ultimately when we do go to deploy, we kind of bundle all of that together on kind of a derived package.json.
Got it. And I see that that we have quite a bunch of type errors. How does that work underneath the code?
We're doing some clever stuff. I'm actually curious. What are these? Yeah. Okay. So these are pretty standard, which is if the agent does not specify the shape of data, TypeScript will complain. But we are not running TypeScript how you might think.
All right.
We are running TypeScript inside of a Cloudflare worker, which is a bit of a legerdemain, because the TypeScript compiler assumes that it has a file system and access to a file system, and it's running on, say, a normal machine.
Right.
What we had to do, there is a virtual file system plugin for TypeScript, although there's some additional hacks that we had to do to get it to. We had to basically shim away certain library calls to the file system and things like that were still happening for compilation specifically, in order to fully make it work inside a Cloudflare worker. The end result is that this is surprisingly fast relative to like booting up a machine and running TypeScript compile on that. And yeah, I mean, I could talk for like 15 to 30 minutes on the compiler itself.
Save that for a different video. So
what
it fixed all the type errors.
Yeah. So we do get a diff. I zoomed in, so it's not as easy to see, unfortunately. But you can see that in response to the like data is of type unknown, it saw, okay, I need to create an interface for this data, and it roughly knows the responses, and then use that interface in various parts of the code base. So check types again, no type errors, and now it's getting into the configuration.
So we need a key.
Yeah, so I do have a key, and I'm going to quickly get that in the background. Open weather map. And nope, that's not it. So you can set secrets on your API for when it deploys. And in this case, we did get instructions on how to get the API key. If you ever build this with Open Weather Map, it takes up to 2 hours for the API key sometimes to be I'm gonna have to clear this after the video. Open Weather API key. I'll enter that here. Oh, nice. All right. I don't think that was visible. I'll still probably clear it. Add variable. And
now we need to redeploy to.
Yeah, we actually haven't deployed yet. So that's the fun part, is it stopped us before deploy to make sure we had the right secret. Okay, let's deploy. We'll think. All right. Now this is kind of the probably the most interesting technical thing that we did so far.
So how did the deploys work?
Yeah, so it's still running.
So normally, if I would develop this on my laptop, I would run Wrangler deploy.
Yeah. So you would run Wrangler deploy. if you were developing locally for a Cloudflare worker. In this case, Wrangler is, just like the TypeScript compiler, very tied to the file system. And under the hood, it uses something called ESBuild in order to create the bundle that ultimately goes to Cloudflare.
Right.
All right. Deploy
So
succeeded.
this is also quite fast.
Yes. And the reason behind that,
It's faster than it would be.
yes, to spin up a machine. And then, yeah. So we run ESBuild. We run a WebAssembly build of ESBuild inside of a Cloudflare workflow, and we basically replicate a lot of the magic that Wrangler does to make your code deploy.
Right.
And so part of that ties into the like package resolution that happens where we derive this package JSON that's right here, and then we use kind of if you're familiar with Cloudflare workers or Cloudflare's ecosystem, we use a durable object per package architecture in order to kind of fan out and fetch all the necessary package files. And that kind of gives us a nice caching layer as well. And once we have those, we can choose the ones that we want and resolve them as the ESBuild kind of bundlers going through the code. Probably the biggest, again, this is another like 20 to 30 minutes
Separate video.
thing. But the sticking point, which wouldn't be necessarily here, but for certain libraries, they use Node.js internals.
Yeah.
And you have to be very tricky about how you either polyfill those, so like make them up for the runtime, or how you hand them over to the workerd, the Cloudflare workers runtime. So that is it's like a hybrid strategy because workerd has some of those libraries,
But not all of them.
but not all of them.
Yeah.
Excuse me, I have a timer. At any rate, I am very happy that the deploy succeeded. And with this, a fun trick we can do is we can connect an MCP server back into our chat right here.
So we just built an MCP server,
Yeah.
but now we can actually connect to it from within.
Yeah. So it does offer, do you want me to connect to this? Now, theoretically, it needs to connect to the /MCP route. And it looks like it did. And we can always look at this right here. So the connection is open. It's green.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah. So we are currently in San Francisco.
We just
Just landed in San Francisco. Let's check the weather in, I should say, well, if I say SF, no, I'll say San Francisco. I think it would be smart enough to query San Francisco if I say FF. All right. 15 degrees Celsius, 59 degrees Fahrenheit. Broken clouds. I mean, you can look outside
Yeah.
if you...
It's not lying.
And
That's good.
yeah. So that is the nutshell demo. Yeah.
It's a good demo.
Yeah.